Of course, what we are finding out is that there are millions of South Africans who had come to depend on these grants. What's the delay in finalizing their payments?
The delay is caused by the fact that, firstly, the previous time when we were paying the social grants, we were using regulations that were under the COVID-19. And then because we are no longer paying under those regulations, we had to change the regulations. Changing the regulations also meant having negotiations with banks in particular, because when you have to pay social grants or pay any other grant, you have to pay the grants. And therefore, to pay, you need to have negotiations with the banks, because also with the banks, it's the price that we have to pay for each and every one. And therefore, what has delayed is, one, from the National Treasury point of view, there were processes that we needed to do for Treasury to certify itself that firstly we're going to be paying the right people, because our other challenge is that we couldn't just simply say these were the people that we're paying, let's continue paying them. Also on the basis that some people have gone back to work, and unfortunately they didn't stop receiving the money, because those that have gone to work shouldn't be receiving the money. We are almost at the end of our negotiations with the banks, really, because what delayed us more was the negotiations with the banks.
If I think about the general response of government now, not just your department, in terms of the COVID-19 rules and regulations, there's always been caution in terms of what has been communicated, that you didn't want to make wholesale changes that were going to affect millions of people without a plan in place. How do you explain what you've just said to me, to people who've been going hungry for weeks now, who are struggling to buy basic food items, many of whom are entirely dependent on this 350 Rand SRD grant as the difference between literally life or death?
Well, not life and death, Bongani. I think we also need to be appreciative, on the other hand, of the fact that we also have to account. The Auditor General raised this issue for us, that we were paying too many people who actually had gone back to work, and therefore we need to tighten our systems. Yes, we truly appreciate and we truly understand the fact that many people entirely depend on this grant. That is the reason why we said we'll be able to pay the grant from June, because we were calculating how much it was going to take us, one, to deal with the regulations and changing the regulations, two, to negotiate with the banks, which we have done, and we are only left with one bank now. Also because, as I say, to pay the money, you need to pay for paying the money. And therefore, we wanted to make sure that when we start the payment, we don't do a stop and start and then come back and say, no, we are not able to pay because of this and that. We are going to be paying the grants from now, and we did indicate also that we are going to be paying back from the time that people applied and when they applied and they were approved.
Sure.
So the payments that will be done will backdate to them.
Current events, developing stories,
tough questions.
Your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.